Welcome to Jimco Associates setup of pivot tables, lesson number 1. In this lesson I'm going to show you how you can quickly establish a pivot table from your data source in your Excel spreadsheet. I need to point out a number of basic rules here at this point to make sure that you understand how to go about doing that and the sorts of information that Excel is actually looking for. Now if I put my cursor in the data set over here, you'll notice that the data set is a continuous block of data with labels at the top. The labels at the top must always be populated, otherwise Excel, when running the pivot table routine, would come up with an error message saying, don't understand that. So to avoid anything like that, we always make sure that the labels are already there. Also, notice that the information is arranged in columns. And again, there's no gaps or spaces within it. So to run the pivot table now, what I'm trying to do here is I'm thinking ahead about what I would like to see. Perhaps I would like to see, well, how many miles has each person travelled within the data that's contained within this table. How much does that cost? Or how many miles have they travelled and at what rate per mile? And so on and so forth. And that's exactly the sort of thing that pivot tables is designed to do. But again, back to the data. Look at it. It's raw data. It's not already formatted into a report such as I suggested. It's not been already subtotaled by person or by month or by whatever. Okay, so we're looking for raw data. If you're working from a process sheet already, you might just have to take back out some of your calculations and reduce it back to a simple list like this before proceeding. So here we go. Let's take our mouse now and click on the data menu. Let's go to pivot table and pivot chart report. And it says here that there are 3 steps. Certainly within this there are, but there's a 4th step to be done once we get back out onto the sheet again. And on step 1 here, it's actually asking you 2 main things. On the first instance, it says up here, where is the data that you want to analyse? Now 9 times out of 10 it's going to be from an Excel list or database. Probably an Excel list, let's be honest. So we don't need to change that. Down here, what do we want to produce from this list? Well, 9 times out of 10 I want to produce a pivot table, so I'm not really changing either of these 2 options here in step 1. I'm going to go on to next here to the 2nd step of the process, and it's really wanting me just to verify here, is that the area that contains your data. And of course, as I left my cursor in the data, with no spaces, it's auto-detected that for me, whether there was 10 rows or 10,000 rows. And that's the beauty of making sure you know the basics. Let's click on next now to go to step 3. And step 3 is just asking me, where would I like the information to be? Would I like it on a new worksheet or on an existing worksheet? For the moment, I'm going to put it on an existing worksheet. So I need to click on the radio button first now in these versions from 2003 onwards. I'm going to click on the sheet now to populate this area down here to tell it exactly where I want it, otherwise it defaults back to on a new worksheet. I'm now going to say finish, and up comes the pivot table engine on my spreadsheet. So what have I got? I've got a field list over here of all the fields. You'll notice that these items here correspond to the labels at the top of the data set, and I've got the pivot table engine over here, which has got 4 component parts to it. We have the row area here, the column area here, the page area here, which is for more advanced things, and the data area down here. We'll just concern ourselves with the row, column and data area here for the moment. Quick tip here also. Pop in the labels to the row and column areas before you put any information into the data area. Now why would you want to do that? Because the minute you drop something into the data area, the pivot table calculates whatever it is that you're asking it to do. So it's important, in other words, then, that you set up the labels first. Otherwise, that you lose sight of these areas here the minute you calculate the data in the middle. So say, for instance, I wanted names of people in the row orientation like that, running down the way, and I wanted to know what mileages they travelled throughout this entire data set over here. And I click and drag mileage into the middle area, where it says drop data area. Don't need to be accurate, just anywhere within there. And look what happens. Excellent, that's exactly what we wanted. Now if I wanted to change my mind about that, to remove things, I simply drag them clear of the pivot table area. Don't drag them up, as they tend to drop into the page area by accident. So if I want to remove anything from here, like the mileage here to change it for money, I'll click and drag that down and clear of the pivot table, and instead go and get the total cost field and drag that into the data area instead. And there we have it. That is the simple way of producing a pivot table from a set of raw data within an Excel spreadsheet. If you'd like to know more about this, please visit our website. and look at the course outlines. We'd be more than happy to discuss that with you in training dates across the UK. And pivot tables are picked up from our Excel Intermediate and Advanced courses onwards. Thank you very much for your time. Look forward to hearing from you.